Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Sakurka. I'm the president and CEO with the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome you this morning as we partner with Einstein's Alley to bring you Immigration in New Jersey, new ideas and fresh perspectives, and a celebration of immigration entrepreneurship. We're so excited about the folks that we are celebrating today, their accomplishments, their legacies, and our keynote discussion about all the challenges and opportunities that are being presented by way of immigration in New Jersey today. It is now my extreme pleasure to introduce your host and MC for today, Catherine Kish, who's the Executive Director with Einstein's Alley. Catherine, the program is all yours.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. And welcome everyone to the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition's presentation of new ideas and fresh perspectives on immigration and the 8th Annual Immigrant Entrepreneur Awards. We are really proud of the work that many of our partners who you see on this slide do to support smart immigration. And we especially want to thank our partner NJBIA for the use of their platform and the work of their excellent staff in setting up this event. Prior to the presentation of the awards, we will have a keynote from the Executive Director of New American Economy and a panel discussion moderated by Dr. Nicholas Montalto, President of Diversity Dynamics and Chair of the Steering Committee of the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, of which both NJBIA and Einstein's Alley are members. I recently read a phrase that really stuck with me. It is, immigration is the jet fuel of innovation. According to Brett Stevens of the New York Times, a common American conceit is that we attract brilliant foreigners because we have brilliant things, great universities, vast financial resources, a dynamic economy, lots of high tech. But that gets things mostly backward. It's because we have brilliant foreigners that we have these things in the first place. Google, Comcast, eBay, Kraft, Pfizer, AT&T, they all had immigrants as founders. This morning, we're here to recognize the impact of immigrants on our society and find some new ideas and fresh perspectives on the positive force that is immigration in our country. Now I'd like to introduce our keynoter, Jeremy Robbins. Jeremy is the Executive Director of New American Economy, a bipartisan coalition of more than 500 CEOs and mayors making the economic case for immigration reform. Since its founding in 2010, the New American Economy has played a lead role in producing research on the economic impact of immigration on American society and advocating for smart federal, state, and local immigration policies that help grow our economy and create jobs for all Americans. We here in New Jersey are particularly fond of the New American Economy because last year, under their Gateways for Growth program and with the support of the Middlesex County Chamber of Commerce, we received a grant to have New American Economy produce a report on the impact of immigration. I'm going to just hold up that report so that you can see it. Looks like this, and it's a wonderful piece of work. If you would like a copy, we'd be happy to email it to you. So just send an email request to NewJerseyBusinessImmigration.org. Now, Jeremy here has a really interesting background. Before heading up the New American Economy, Jeremy previously worked as a policy advisor and special counsel for New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and as a judicial law clerk before that on the United States Court of Appeals. Even before that, as a litigation associate at Wilmer Hale, a big firm up in Boston. And he did some most impressive public service work as a Robert L. Bernstein International Human Rights Fellow working on prisoner rights issues in Argentina. Jeremy received his JD from Yale and a BA in political science from Brown. We are delighted to have you here today, Jeremy. Welcome, please.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you all for having me today. I am so grateful to the work that you and Einstein Alley are doing, to the work of the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, and certainly to the work of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association in advocating on behalf of immigrants and smarter immigration policies in New Jersey and nationally. As Catherine mentioned, my name is Jeremy Robbins. I'm the Executive Director of New American Economy, which is a bipartisan think tank and advocacy organization working to promote smarter immigration policies that grow our economy and make our communities and our country stronger. We're working in communities all over the country, bringing together Republican and Democratic leaders with business leaders, faith leaders, nonprofit leaders to jointly invest in making their communities more inclusive. And we've had tremendous success all over the country and in places like Texas and Utah and Iowa and Oklahoma and many other communities you might not expect to be actively investing in their immigrant communities. But one place that has increasingly been leading the way, and I think has not gotten enough national attention for the incredible work that's being done, is here in New Jersey. So for many reasons, it should not come as a surprise that New Jersey has been playing such a leading role in the immigration fight. This is a state where immigrants have a tremendous impact. So according to our latest research, and I'll put some of this in the chat right now so that you can see it. According to our latest research, there are now more than 2 million immigrants in New Jersey. Collectively, they pay more than $29 billion in local, state, and federal taxes each year, and they have more than $65 billion in spending power that they inject back into the local economy in the state. And most relevantly for this discussion, there are 128,508, let me repeat that, 128,508 immigrant entrepreneurs in New Jersey alone, and they employ more than 389,000 people at their companies. This is happening all over the country. Immigrant entrepreneurs are revitalizing main streets all over the country with businesses big and small. There are more than 3 million immigrant entrepreneurs in America, and they employ nearly 8 million people at their companies. And I know you see it in many of your members here at the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Like Rashad Badra is speaking today, who came here from Pakistan and started 3 separate technology companies. He volunteers in several endeavors on the side, like all of the immigrant entrepreneurs being honored today. These are amazing stories, but they're far from unique. The story of immigrants coming to America, scraping and saving and working and fighting to get by as they start businesses to support their families, that's a story as old as the country. And each generation, we have the incredible fortune that people around the world set off for a better life and come here to do it. It's one of America's greatest, if not perhaps the greatest, competitive advantage we have. But when they get here, immigrant entrepreneurs and immigrants generally face enormous obstacles that government and business community can play a leading role in removing. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So first, I want to quickly lay out why I think this is such a particularly important moment for immigration in America. Second, I want to highlight some of the great advances New Jersey is making today, advances that are going to bolster New Jersey's economy, but also help turn the tide on xenophobia that's currently running all too rampant in our country. And finally, and I think most importantly, I want to leave all of you with a way that you or your company can get directly involved in immigration work, in integration work. So let's get started in the few minutes I have today with where we stand. It's clear that we are very much at a crossroads in our country. And there are 2 very competing and very conflicting views of what immigration means in America. And I want to be very clear at the outset. Despite what's going on in the national media and the national political discourse, I don't believe that for a second that immigration has to be a partisan issue. And there are many, many people in both parties whom we work with around the country, and many I imagine on this Zoom from both sides of the aisle, who agree with the vision that I'm going to lay out today about immigration. But it's clear that there are 2 competing narratives fighting for attention right now. The first is immigration a threat? Is it a threat to our security? Is it a threat to our economy, to our health as we're fighting this pandemic? And the other is immigration an opportunity? Isn't it an expression of America's greatest values of openness? Does it make us more resilient, more dynamic, and stronger as a society? And we've seen this dynamic play out continually every generation, but certainly even more so in recent years over debates about dreamers and refugees and Muslim immigrants and asylum seekers at our borders and poor immigrants and tech workers and international students and so many others. But over the last 6-7 months, the COVID pandemic has taken this fight to a new level. Immigrants have been scapegoated as the ones bringing the China flu and taking scarce jobs from American workers. Yet almost everywhere you look, immigrants, shoulder to shoulder with native-born Americans, are playing a critical role in helping fight the pandemic and get our economy back on track. And so at New American Economy, we saw our role right when the pandemic hit is how do we tell that story? And so we've sought to highlight how significant their role has been. And the first thing we did back in March was we launched a COVID portal to study the role that immigrants are actually playing on the front lines. And the data is striking. We found that though immigrants are just 13% of the population in America, almost 14%, they account for almost 30% of all doctors and almost 38% of all home health aides that are caring for the sick as the pandemic's striking. We have a mental health crisis in our country that's gotten much more profound during the pandemic. Well, nearly a third of all psychiatrists in the country that are treating it are foreign-born. And immigrants have played outside roles in just about every essential industry that's kept us safe and kept our economy afloat. And that's especially true here in New Jersey, where if you look at more than half of all home health aides, more than a third of all the workers are keeping the food supply functioning. And when you look at specific things like food processing industry, where there have been horrible COVID strikes, so the riskiest jobs, but some of the most important in keeping meat on the table, nearly half of all workers in the food processing industry in New Jersey are foreign-born. And because they're in these frontline risky jobs, they're among the most vulnerable to become sick from the pandemic too. And that's one of the travesties of what's happened, is that when Congress passed a bipartisan CARES Relief Act to help those that are suffering from the pandemic, immigrants were left out in the cold. Not only were they excluded, but their US citizen relatives were excluded if they lived with an immigrant who happened to be undocumented. And so states and cities were left to fill the void, often with no funding or guidance for how to do it. So in New American Economy, we tried to help them pick up the slack. We worked with communities across the country to craft their own COVID response policies that supported the immigrants who were supporting them. Right? We helped governors change their licensing rules to get more immigrant doctors and healthcare workers in the front lines. We helped local communities set up COVID relief funds and COVID hotlines in multiple languages. We provided data that was essential in setting up contact tracing programs. And perhaps no place in the country leaned in harder than New Jersey. The governor issued an emergency order very early on, trying to get more immigrant doctors on the front lines by reducing the barriers to licensure for internationally trained physicians. As there was a fight to end DACA that went all the way to the Supreme Court to deport the Dreamers, New Jersey pushed to try and save DACA. And most recently, the legislature signed and passed, and the governor signed into law the most expansive professional licensing reform on the East Coast. That's going to allow immigrants to practice a wide range of professions that they're trained in, but they couldn't get their licenses here for all sorts of bureaucratic reasons. And the local communities in New Jersey have been equally active. As Catherine mentioned, we're working in Middlesex. We're also working in Jersey City, which reached out for help on its COVID response to understand the role immigrants are playing locally in fighting the pandemic. That role was immense. Our research found that 58% of the grocery and supermarket workers, the ones going out every day, making sure that we had the food on the shelves that we could get, were foreign-born. And equally, in terms of the people that were most at risk, 60% of Jersey City residents without health insurance were foreign-born. So when Jersey City planned its COVID response, it took that into account and came up with a response that would recognize the unique needs, both of their frontline workers and the people hit most hard for the virus. And so perhaps unsurprisingly, when our annual ranking of the US cities that best integrate immigrants came out earlier this month, it has 51 indicators that measure everything from how immigrants are doing economically, socially, politically, civically. Jersey City had jumped to the second place in the entire nation when measuring how well immigrants are able to succeed. Said another way, because of the efforts of the local community in making sure that immigrants are able to enjoy all the benefits and opportunities of the native born, the gap between immigrants and the native born in Jersey City is smaller than it is in 98 of the 99 other largest cities in the country. So we're now at an inflection point, certainly with COVID, but I think in this fight generally. With COVID, we're not done fighting the virus, but we can't help but turn our focus to our economic recovery at the same time. And this is an area where the business community, especially those on this Zoom, are going to have such a powerful voice. As we grapple with the recovery, one of the big fundamental questions we're going to face is how do we get our main streets vibrant again? How do we find new companies who are going to come in and replace those that have closed shop for good during the pandemic? Where will the new jobs we need come from? And immigration is not a panacea. It's not going to cure all of our economic ills, but it is a key asset in the struggle, one that sets us apart from every other country in the world that's struggling to build back, because we're the place that people want to come to start their businesses to have a better life. And so coming back to the moment at hand and the question of whether immigration is an opportunity or a threat, the clear answer is, especially right now, as we're so starved for new businesses and new jobs, immigration is an incredible opportunity, but one that comes with very real challenges. When immigrants get here, they may not speak the language. They may have trouble navigating the red tape to practice their trained profession. I'm sure you'll hear some of those stories today. Or to access city services, or to enroll their kids in school, or to get the bank loans they need to start their businesses. So investing in helping these immigrants succeed is an investment not just in them, but an investment in the success of the community as a whole. It's going to make our neighborhoods more cohesive, more dynamic, more resilient, simply stronger. And change has to happen from the bottom up. This is a fight that is so often had on cable news and in Washington, D.C. But the reality is the immigrant experience is defined in their community. And so we've got to go block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. So at New American Economy, we want to be a catalyst for that change. We're now working in 100 communities across the country, most of which are in conservative or swing states, where we're helping communities flip the narrative, working from the ground up, investing. We help them start offices of New Americans in their city halls. We help them support immigrant entrepreneurs so they can open more businesses. We help them provide more free or affordable English language training so people can learn English and better participate. We help them take real and concrete actions to make immigrants a more included part of the community. We are very eager to grow our footprint in New Jersey, and we need leaders like you on this Zoom to do it, because this is a movement that is going to be led locally. And I have nothing but optimism that we're moving in the right direction as a country, and certainly on this issue specifically. Because while politicians and cable news might continue to seed the notion that there are deep divides about immigration, the country is actually more united than ever when it comes to this issue. Each year, Gallup asks Americans whether immigration helps the country or hurts the country. This year, Gallup recorded the highest ever level of Americans, 77% of Americans who think immigration benefits America. We are winning this battle. But success depends on leaders like you making hard investments in their own communities. So at New American Economy, we want to help you do it. So in just my last minute, I want to tell you what you can do. First, start locally. Along with our friends at Welcome America, we run a program that Catherine mentioned at the top called Gateways for Growth, where we give local communities research, technical assistance, and at times limited funding to craft a local strategic welcoming and integration plan, and to understand who the immigrants are in their communities. These are projects that are led by local business leaders, local mayors, the nonprofit community, the faith community. In our last round, we awarded Middlesex County, as Catherine mentioned, research assistance that resulted in a report that we're very proud of, and we hope is going to be the impetus for a much larger body of work. We are right now going through the motions of judging our fourth round of Gateways for Growth, and I know some of you in this room have applied. We're going to announce that the new awardees next month, and I am very optimistic we'll be able to work together. Of course, I can't. We haven't made decisions. The judges have to figure it out. But there are some great projects coming out in New Jersey. But we've also developed a series of toolkits, and I'm going to put this and some other links into the chat for everyone to help communities start this work on their own. And so most recently, we partnered with Bloomberg Philanthropies to release a toolkit to help local communities take concrete steps to attract and support immigrant and refugee entrepreneurs. What do you do? How do you make them succeed? How do you do outreach? How do you give them support when they get there? How do you build all of the infrastructure they're going to need to get their loan, start their business, and make it in America? And so we have a fabulous toolkit. I'll put it in the chat that you can use. So certainly, like, starting this work, investing locally, that's step one. Second thing you can do in this room is speak up. We need the voices in favor of immigration to outshine those calling it a threat. So we employ a team of journalists at New American Economy who can help you place op-eds or letters to the editors to tell your story. If you're an immigrant, if you work with immigrants, if your customers are immigrants, if you just think that you have vision you want to share, it's very easy to feel like your voice doesn't matter. Who am I? I'm just a person. But here's the reality. Every voice matters. And every member of Congress, every time an issue that they're working on comes up in their local paper, they know about it and they read it. Third, advocate. I believe there's going to be a window for real immigration reform in 2021, but there will be huge obstacles. Our other issues are going to crowd out the agenda. Finding a solution that all sides can agree on is going to be tough, but to win, we need the business community pushing hard. So we can help you with talking points, lobby days, political insights. Please reach out, get involved. Last point is invest. We need leaders to put their money where their mouth is here. There's simply too little investment in integration advocacy work, both locally and nationally. There's so many great groups doing this work in your community. Please support them. Events like today are hugely important in raising attention to this issue. So thank you for holding it. Thank you for having me. Congratulations to all the awardees. And I look forward to working with all of you. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. My name is Nick Montalto, and I've been asked to moderate a panel this morning that will reflect on Jeremy's powerful and thought-provoking remarks. We're very fortunate to have a distinguished group of people here, each of whom bring a very special perspective to bear on the topic of immigration policy. I'd like the members of the panel to turn on their webcams. And once I see everyone, I'm going to introduce the three members of the panel. I would say at the outset, however, that we have decided this morning to not do the standard sequential presentations. Rather, we're going to operate on a kind of interactive format. And what I'll do is I'll pose a series of questions to the members of the panel. And that way we'll try to cover as much territory as possible in the time that we have. The panel members have agreed to limit their responses to no more than 2 minutes. And I'm sorry if this sounds like a presidential panel. I didn't mean that, but that's the sort of the ground rules that we've agreed to. Let me introduce the three panelists to you. Rashad Bajwa is CEO of Domain Computer Services, one of the largest managed IT service providers in the metropolitan area. Born in Pakistan, he was the winner of the 2017 Immigrant Entrepreneur Award in the area of advocacy and community engagement. Rashad serves on the board of NJBIA and the Princeton Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce, and he brings the perspective of a smaller corporation to this discussion of immigration policy. Also born in Pakistan, our next panelist, Ali Bolcati, has the intriguing job title of Global Mobility Manager for Unilever Corporation. Ali has many years of experience helping companies like Unilever, and before that, the New York Times, HSBC Bank, and Allianz Global Investors navigate the often turbulent waters of immigration policy. Ali brings the perspective, of course, of a larger corporation to the discussion of immigration policy. And our last panelist, Pat McGovern, is a partner in the Newark office of the law firm of Genova Burns, where he specializes in immigration law as well as employment law and litigation. Pat, I'm happy to say, is a member of the steering committee of the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, and I presume will be our guide through the often confusing complexity of immigration law and procedure. So let me start with a first question. Having listened to Jeremy's presentation, I wonder if you each might have some quick reactions or comments, and we're going to just have a very short reaction to this. But let me start with you, Rashad. Any thoughts in response to what Jeremy has just shared with us?
You know, I think he touched on the big debate that's going on, obviously, in the election right now, but broadly about who America wants to be. And we've had thoughts about what that was that brought my parents to this country in the late 19 or in the 1970s. But now, what makes America great? What does the Statue of Liberty stand for? And our attitude towards that. And I can tell you, as an immigrant or son of immigrants, we had a certain mindset around what America was and what made it great for us to want to come here. But we need to make sure that the country, there's a certain part of the population that may think of something a little bit different. And we need to come to grips with what that is. And we need to have allies, just like Black Lives Matter. They need to have white allies, though. Women's rights need to have male allies, and immigrants need to have, citizen allies that are speaking up against xenophobia and understanding what does actually make America great. So I think Jeremy's phrasing of, is it a threat or is it an opportunity, is the big question we need to answer.
Yeah, we're at a critical junction in the history of the country. I think that's a message that came through loud and clear. Ali, what did you think of Jeremy's presentation? Anything that struck you as special and especially meaningful?
So I think, no doubt that there's a lot of stuff that Jeremy covered, but I think the one that stood out for me the most was Jersey City and its response by taking a holistic view of immigrants in their population. I think that holistic view was so important because it literally, put them at the top 10 in the country. That tells you that having a narrow view on this conversation, you're going to miss the point. These are vital people in your community, from every level, as you'll see on this call. We've got everybody from doctors to lawyers to entrepreneurs, and I think that to me was a huge standout, because I feel like when you talk about the conversation and you hear it on the news, it's typically that narrow view that's being viewed. It's a very restricted viewpoint. And if you take a bigger look and you really count the people that are engaging in your communities and your economy, I think that's a win strategy, and it's clearly represented in that poll that Jersey City stand out for. Yeah.
On the subject of what local communities are doing, I don't know if any of you saw this, something that was released by the Office of New Americans for the state of New Jersey just yesterday. It's called the New American Integration Report, and it does cover some of the points that Jeremy made in his presentation. Pat, how about you? How did you react to Jeremy's presentation?
I'm going to try to reverse the stereotype for lawyers and try to keep my comments to a very pithy length. Just three comments. I thought the statistics that Jeremy shared were a huge wake-up call. Was not aware of them. They're very valuable. Was unaware of the penetration of the immigrant community so deeply into the New Jersey economy. So appreciate that. Comment on the xenophobia comment. And I would have thought, say back in the 70s, I would have characterized it as xenophobia. From my practice, it's more of, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job to a foreigner. It's not so much, fear of foreigners. I'm just going to lose my job. Somebody's going to come in and take my job and get paid, offer to be paid less than I am. And that's clearly an obstacle. How do we overcome that concern about job loss, especially given the damage the pandemic has done to the economy, and everyone's commitment to building back the economy is how do we overcome this fact that so many people are out of work? And then finally, having lived in downtown Jersey City for 20 years in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I can attest to the fact that Jersey City experience did not happen overnight. There was a need, and the need was most pronounced in healthcare. And you could see folks coming in from Southeast Asia, coming in from the Philippines to fill that need. And so now Jersey City is pretty much, it is, I would say, hugely welcoming to persons from every country, but essentially, most notably, from Pacific Rim countries.
Thank you, Pat. And I think the issue of whether we see immigration as a win-lose or a win-win proposition is key to this whole discussion. I want to ask the members of the panel, I gave you a very brief introduction, but I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on how immigration factors into either your personal life or your professional life. What brings you to this panel? Why are you interested in the subject of immigration? I wonder if we could go around the panel again the same way. Rashad, would you like to tackle that one?
Sure. So immigration for me it's really fundamentally, it's my origin story. Now as an entrepreneur and business owner, we have plenty of immigration issues that we need to deal with from a hiring and recruiting point of view. But fundamentally to me, it's about the opportunity that I got because my parents were able to come to the US back in 1978, 1979. I was a kid, I was very young. And that opportunity allowed them to take a big risk, a big change in their lives. I mean, you know, the typical immigrant story, you leave your family behind, your relationships, your friends, and you make a new life for yourself in a new country. And that audacity for them, I mean, thinking now to move to another country and start a whole new life just seems such a big thing to me, made starting a business so easy. Meaning, as far as from an audacity point of view, it just seemed like that's what you do in America. You go out there and you build things, you make things, and then ultimately gives you the opportunity to hire folks too. But the ability, I think that immigrant mentality, that's kind of been told to me. I don't think it's necessarily just an immigrant mentality, but a lot of immigrants have it, especially those who have come, I think, not too far away from those initial folks that came over into the country. So it's a big part of why I'm an entrepreneur. There is no doubt. But mostly it's about me being thankful for the opportunity that I am one of those people of a country of many hundreds of millions in Pakistan that had the opportunity to come here and make a life for myself. That's what America was about to my parents. That's what it's about to me, and hopefully that's what it's going to be for my children and future generations.
You know, Rashad, sometimes we forget when we talk about the subject of immigration that the story of immigration continues down through the generations, and particularly with the second generation. And the inspiration and example that you received from your parents is something that had a profound influence on you, as it has had a profound influence on so many children of immigrants. So when we talk about the benefits of immigration, we have to also think about what the children of immigrants are doing as well. Ali, would you tell us, I assume immigration is like your entire professional life. So it's going to be very hard to respond to this question, but in a nutshell.
In a nutshell,
what you've been doing.
So I'll start on the personal side. So like Rashad, you know, I'm a second generation immigrant, but it doesn't just like stop there for me. So I was born in Pakistan. My parents then moved to the Middle East, to Oman, and we ping-ponged between the two countries. And then eventually my father moved to Canada. So I basically did my higher schooling and my undergrad in Canada. And then I decided I always had this passion to go to New York and move to the States. So I actually then immigrated the fourth or third time to the US. Having that experience as a child, it gives you a lot of resilience. Look, from kindergarten to 12th grade, I moved 13 schools. I've attended 13 schools in 4 continents and all over the globe. That kind of gives you the resilience, but then it also makes you appreciate the immigrant journey, which the reason I've stayed in this career path for so long is because I find this very much in my purpose, that because I have this experience and resilience that I've gone through, I want to pass it on and make the experience better and easier for the new coming immigrants and the people who are still on their way. So on the professional side, look, most of my family is either in the medical field or in the IT field. I'm in the immigration field. It's not where the big bucks are, but it's definitely something that I feel very passionate about, because it's rewarding to help somebody navigate that journey, make it easier for them. That reward is what keeps me grounded to my purpose. And where I am professionally today, It's basically trying to, make it easier for these big corporations, which, they see the CNN and the Fox News and they say, well, this doesn't even look possible. And I'm the guy who comes in and says, no, this is just like, use this as another tool in your tool belt. You can find the expertise you need. And really and truly, it is what, I bring in expertise and managers from all over the globe who've done something spectacular in another market. And when they come to the US, yeah, I bring in one immigrant, but then literally you see them build a team of new hires and new creating opportunities and jobs. So not only do they push innovation, do they expand revenue and growth for a company, but they're literally hiring Americans. So I find great pleasure in doing that and helping people get from the front to the end of their immigration journey.
Thank you, Ellie. That's very interesting. And that seems to be a theme throughout. Jeremy mentioned the statistics on the number of jobs that immigrant-owned firms have produced. And I know, Rashad, that's been part of your mission to promote employment, especially for minorities in your company and other companies in the tech industry. So very interesting. Pat, you want to tell us a little bit about the struggles that you've had to go through in working with your clients and how immigration factors into your professional life?
Very good. So I'm 5th generation Irish. So a lot of 4th generation and 5th generation, depending upon which family tree you take a look at. Most of them coming from County Cavan. And the playing field with respect to Irish immigrants, most of my family got off the boat and settled in Paul's Hook, Jersey City, or in downtown Newark. And the playing field with respect to jobs was different. It was before the civil rights laws, so a segment of the family moved up into the Boston area and were confronted with signs such as Irish need not apply. So the playing field these days, thankfully, has improved for all persons, whether immigrants or non-immigrants, whether Irish Catholic, whether Muslim, etc. And back to my background in immigration law, it just fell to me as being the junior labor attorney at a New York law firm. Okay, you're going to do immigration, and I said, okay, great opportunity, and it was all pretty much business immigration work, and where I was introduced to persons who I was convinced there's a reason why these aliens, these foreign workers should be permitted to work in the United States, what they were contributing either to the theater or to the business world, etc. And that was my first introduction to immigration. And then I went in-house to a Fortune 50 company, and again was responsible for business immigration matters, which gave me a lot of experience, especially with respect to non-immigrant as well as permanent resident immigration matters. And again, it was mostly business applications. But I'd say the last 15 years since I've been practicing in Newark, where it's a more varied clientele, and that has been very rewarding because it's not just business clients. It's also working with students who are very highly capable, who have a need to stay in the United States, and in some instances, some removal cases that involve folks who've been in the United States for years. In one instance, it was 25 years in the United States facing a removal proceeding. So a lot of variety that keeps me interested in this area, because essentially every client who walks through the door and asks for legal help has a different story and a different set of challenges.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate your giving us a rundown on the work that you've done over the years in the area of immigration. You know, we're currently living through a period of severe immigration restrictions, including restrictions on legal immigration, both family and employment-based immigration, as well as unprecedented slowdowns in refugee resettlement and the asylum granting process. I think never before, actually, in the history of the United States has mobility been so severely restricted. So my question for you is, I'm wondering if you'd like to share your impressions regarding the impact of these restrictions. And you can, respond either on the societal level or the individual level. What's going on out there in the community as a result of the restrictions that have been placed on immigration, either for the pandemic or for other reasons? Who'd like to start on that one?
So I can share just a quick story. I think Pat or Ali would have maybe some more experience with a wide variety of cases. But for us, even though most of our work is about creating jobs in America for folks who are already here, we do have some folks who have H-1Bs. And I can tell you the messaging that we're getting right now through the government is, one example, a NJIT master's PhD grad that has worked for us for quite a few years, went to visit his family and has essentially been locked away, and the embassies have been closed and cannot come back. And so has essentially been told, the embassy is closed to stamp your H-1B to go back into the country until 2021. And so it's that sort of intimidation factor, the messaging of it, where it's too much trouble. And so I think if a company was looking to take some opportunities, it just becomes so difficult, and that the barriers have been put in place where it's really been a burden to getting the skills that we need in order to accomplish our business objectives.
I've heard that so often, that people are stranded in their countries of origin with very strong ties to the United States and can't get back in. Ali, how about what impact are you seeing?
So definitely on the lack of mobility, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I think what we forget is that you could be the brightest person, but understand that if you have family back home, even if it's in Europe, you are now stranded. I mean, if somebody, and I think that's where we see this huge lack of empathy from the immigration perspective. Is like, listen, if I'm an immigrant and I'm working, making six figures, contributing to the US economy, but you've locked down borders, banned countries where I can't go see my parents, even if one of them, God forbid, falls ill. I think that strains and actually dissuades people from like, why am I here? Why am I putting all this effort into this country where, even something on a very such personal and something that's close to your heart doesn't get kind of reviewed. But definitely, like, those are the struggles. I mean, everybody that was planning on coming into the US since the June 22nd executive order is now waiting until Q1 of 2021 to see what that will look like. And the people who are here are also stuck here. They're trying to navigate this weird way of like, listen, can I quarantine for 2 weeks in a Caribbean island and then come back if I go to Europe? It's not easy right now. And then obviously, look, on top of all of this, you throw the pandemic. So it's definitely not been easy. And the one thing I want to say is, my heart goes out to the students specifically. Like, if you look at who's graduating STEM degrees in the United States, you look at the metrics. It's like 80% of STEM degree graduates are international students. And we saw what just recently happened when the pandemic hit. They said, listen, if your school's going online, go home. We don't want you here. I think that is totally the wrong message to send. And it basically says, we don't value your contributions, where those are, I always try to promote that those are the key people that you need to make the stride for, hire them when they're on their OPT or their CPT, give them the opportunity, because those are the brightest minds who are doing STEM degree graduations. If you go for the 15% of US born graduates, that's where those guys get top dollar. Let's be honest. You're only going to be able to afford, depending on what company you are and what you pay, you're going to be able to afford the brightest minds if you dabble into that pool. So I definitely wanted to mention that one.
Ali, we also are confronted with proposed revisions to the H-1B program. And while I think a legitimate case can be made for reform of H-1B, I'm not sure these revisions are taking us in the right direction. And I think the business community has to be alert to what is being proposed and what might be proposed in the future to reform the program. We don't need to get into the details right now, but H-1B is the major avenue by which international students can remain in the United States and bring their skills to bear on our economy. Pat, do you want to pick up on that?
Sure. Yeah, and one of the things just mentioned is not just the tightening with respect to the rules of students on F visas and their online courses, but also the challenges that are related to just school closings. And you've got students who are cast adrift, and they are doing everything they can to maintain their F visa status in the United States without having to go back to their homeland, their citizen of their nation of origin, because they may never be able to get back into the United States. So that's a major challenge, and some of our clients are dealing with that. I think the H visa proposed regs, I think we're just going to see more of that. Obviously, the H visa process has been a target of this administration. As the whole process changed effective early 2020, and now there are proposals. And I think we're just, as this administration sees perhaps the end of the administration coming up, they're going to attempt to get more regulations, tightening the requirements, not loosening them, tightening these requirements so it becomes more difficult for a future administration to undo them. So we too are seeing delays in job creation. So what has had to happen is early in 2020, businesses hit the pause button and said, all right, well, we have to stop here. Now, some of their business partners get antsy and they move on and they say, look, we just have to look elsewhere for an investment. So the opportunities for, in some instances, job creation are just going by. It's the lack of certainty in the process. One of the things Rashad touched on is absolutely true. It may be that there's guidance as far as how you may be able to get foreign workers in from Western Europe, but then the next question is the practical one. Can you get an appointment in the consular office? And they're saying, hey, we're only dealing with emergencies at this point, and your case is not an emergency. So again, it's this particular presidential proclamation on H's and L's expires on December 31 as of today. Whether it will be extended beyond, that's more uncertainty. And the additional expense, both in government fees and in legal fees. And so the government is upping the ante with respect to the fees. There's been litigation to enjoin the implementation of the new higher government fees. But look, it's one of those things, the longer a process takes, the more expensive the process is in legal fees. So it's one of those things, with every new twist and turn introduced by the regulation, that adds additional legal fees, and the government is helping in the expense by introducing these fees. The other one is the public charge rule. Again, it's very difficult, and it introduces very significant delays for an applicant who needs to complete the form indicating or advising with respect to public charge. Even though the applicant may have never received any public state monies, federal monies, etc., they still have to fill out this form. Very onerous, and is just another indication of tightening. And then the final thing is just the delay in the business expansion. As investments are lost, business people lose their patience, and they just kind of move on and look for another opportunity to invest their money, and there go the U.S. jobs.
You know, Pat, that last point you just made reminds me of a study that came out last year looking at some earlier changes in the H-1B program, and it was an analysis of some 7,000 corporations that had applied for H-1B workers, and looking at those that were denied and those that were accepted. And what they found, that where the denials were predominant, those companies then proceeded to offshore workers in other countries. So the jobs were lost to the United States and ended up going abroad. So, you know, one needs to be very careful, because you might expect that you're protecting the jobs of American workers when in reality, you're actually impairing those jobs.
True.
Let me throw another kind of difficult question at you. You know, before the pandemic, worker shortages in many industries, including IT, education, healthcare, were widespread. The U.S. also faced the grim reality of declining birth rates and an aging population. I think many, if not all, of these fundamentals probably have not changed. So my question to you is the following. What role do you think immigration should play in our economic recovery plans from the pandemic? That's a big question. And anyone want to begin by tackling that big question?
So I'll take it, you know, from the IT point of view and the tech point of view. What Pat mentioned is incredibly critical. We're in a global economy. We're connected. We happen to all be in New Jersey right now on this Zoom call, but we could be anywhere in the world. And these jobs are very easily mobilized offshore if we do not have that immigration solution to bring people here. The issue is it's a skills gap. We don't have the skills. And I say this repeatedly, our biggest barrier to growth in the tech industry for businesses in particular is not a lack of clients, it is a lack of talent. It is a lack of skills. And so if we have the opportunity, I think simultaneously we need to develop the skills onshore here in our communities, which I think everyone, including us immigrants who have the benefit of being part of this community, should contribute to, and that should be a priority. But if we don't have the skills here, we either don't get the work done, because AI and all of these technologies, they're not smart enough to write themselves yet. It is a people business. Technology is a people business, and we need people to be able to deliver on that. And if we don't do it, and if we don't have the skills here, it's gonna come from somewhere else, period, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could piggyback off of that easily. I mean, look, I think if the pandemic has taught us one thing, it's that we can still, you know, do our work and, you know, continue to grow business without seeing each other face to face or being in an office location. So the globalization thing is already, it was already a thing, but I think the pandemic has sped it up and put it in high gear. Definitely, you know, even in a corporation, we are trying to, you know, future fit ourselves for what is the future going to look like. You know, yes, some of it was like, okay, let's offshore some of this, you know, administrative work. Now we're pushing you know, artificial intelligence and trying to automate things which are going to happen. And then basically, you know, like the computer will crunch the administrative numbers and whatever needs to get done. You'll need one person to just double check the work. So it's a thing that's like happening, and the immigrant contribution is massive. I mean, like, I feel like, you know, I look at it, I think opening the door for immigrants to come in is very much prosperous to the economy, right? Like, those are the people who are, you know, getting car loans. Those are the people who are looking to buy mortgages or houses, and they're pushing the market. I mean, if you just look at north of the border, if you look at Canada, Canada's on point to be the 4th largest economy simply because of their immigration system. Their real estate market never crashed. Why? Because they made sure that they were doing the stress testing on the mortgage loans, and there's still immigrants coming in and buying houses. You know, you don't have to go far to like see the value of what immigrants bring. You just got to look at your neighbor.
You know, there are some predictions that world population growth will stop sometime in mid-century. And in fact, if projections are accurate, in the near future, the global replacement rate on population will be below replacement level, 1.6 rather than 2.1. The future may be a future where there will be a shortage of immigrant workers, and that countries will be competing for a limited supply of immigrant workers. There's a book out by Matthew Iglesias talking about the need for America to bolster its population in order to compete with the likes of India and China in the future. We are not as densely populated as France or Britain or Germany. There is room for population growth in the United States, and it may be essential to the success of our economy. Pat, how would you tackle this question?
Well, there have been, furloughs and layoffs in many industries, and the ones that come to mind that affect, potential immigrant entrepreneurs the most, in my opinion, would be education, technology, because of the ripple effect of the closure of manufacturing abroad, which supplies components to the United States, and construction, just to name three. Again, similar thing. Materials that would be coming in from the Pacific Rim or Europe, they're not coming in now, which kind of, to a certain extent, not across the board, especially small construction companies have had to implement furloughs. So given that dynamic and the thirst for US workers to go back to work, the goal has to be to balance the need to provide jobs to US workers with a creative and sensitive approach to legitimizing persons in the US who are contributing to the economy. Now, one of the things that I face is persons who come into the United States. My practice is these persons start as non-immigrants, and there is a finite period of time during which their non-immigrant visas are valid. And I would say 98% of the time, these same employees, these same workers want to convert to permanent residence. Okay, in other words, they're not going to go back. Even the workers who come in on J visas. J visas generally, not all the time, require the person before he or she converts to permanent resident to return to their home country for 2 years. In other words, let's give back to your home country the education you developed in the United States. And many times, obviously, these people do not want to go back to their home country. Why? They fit into their jobs. Their employer wants to employ them. So you have that dynamic of persons coming in on the non-immigrant visa, creating a demand for permanent resident visas. And how are we going to satisfy that? Because when you look at the visa bulletins for many of the countries, or at least some of the countries that are sending countries, China and India, usually they're oversubscribed. So that, and back to the point that Nick just made, declining birth rates. We are going to be a country that is on the buying end. We are going to have a demand for these workers. And yet the other dynamic is, let's take care of the US workers we have right now who are unemployed. So that's the balancing act we're confronted with over the next year or two as the economy gets back on its feet.
Well, Pat, I'm thinking of the large number of people who are today in undocumented status, but who were at one time legally in the United States, and it's only for want of an opportunity to remain legally that they have reverted or converted to a legal status. And certainly the problems of natives of China and India are of a special note because of the limitation on numbers that apply to every country in the world, no matter what the population of that country might be. So certainly one of the reforms that we should be looking at is elimination of those per country limitations. Well, we could go on and on here for hours. We've touched on a number of issues that I think are going to be of concern to members of the coalition going forward. And I really want to thank each of you for taking the time today to join us. I hope we can all give a virtual round of applause to our panelists today, Rashad, Ali, and Pat. Thank you so much for joining us. This is to be continued in the future. It's a conversation that hopefully will not end, but will continue. So thank you so
very much.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to now share my screen, and I hope you can see this. If there's anything I think we've shown today is that immigration policy is deserving of serious attention and analysis, that our discussion of immigration needs to be guided by facts and research. And of course, we all have a lot riding on the outcome of these discussions. Mindful of these realities, about a year and a half ago, many of the groups that have sponsored the Immigrant Entrepreneur Awards over the last 8 years decided to form a new group called the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, which is co-sponsoring today's event. Before I turn the floor over to Catherine, as chair of the Coalition Steering Committee, I've been asked to give you a short, commercial kind for the coalition. It's important to say at the outset that we are still in our formative stages. As you can see from this slide, we are dedicated to sensible, evidence-based, and bipartisan immigration reform. We're engaged in 4 primary activities. First, building our strength and influence by recruiting new members. Second, educating the business community and the general public through our new website. We have a quarterly newsletter. We sponsor research and events like this one. Third, advocating for sound public policy. And fourth, calling attention to the singular accomplishments of immigrants through our annual awards program. If you'd like more information about the coalition, if you'd like to become a member, or if you have questions about our work, you have 2 ways of reaching us. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, you could email us at info@newjerseybusinessimigration.org. If you want to see our platform and learn more about our work and review some of the research that we've posted online, you can go to our new website, www.newjerseybusinessimigration.org. There you will find a membership form that you can use to join the coalition and to submit it online. These are some of the organizations, specifically groups that we call partners that have contributed financially to make possible events like this one. We're especially grateful to NJBIA and Einstein's Alley for their support. So I thank you for your attention. I'm now going to turn the floor over to Catherine, who will moderate the next segment of our program.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was excellent. The panelists were wonderful. Thank you all so much. What a fascinating discussion. Well, this is the 8th time that we've reached out into New Jersey for nominations for these prestigious awards. The nominees that came from many countries. They're small mom and pop businesses as well as large corporations. They range from high-tech firms to professional service providers to manufacturing companies. Combined, they employ thousands of people and do millions of dollars in sales. We are really grateful for the judges who are willing to invest their time in the careful work of judging. The judges for this year's awards were Sandeep Agarwal, President and CEO of Pure Indian Foods, who was a previous award winner last year. Lena Lona, who is CEO of the Middlesex Regional Chamber of Commerce and a great supporter of this coalition, and William Keep, the former TCNJ Vice Provost and Dean of the TCNJ Business School, who kind of sneaked away to retire for a little bit, but I understand he's coming back and will be teaching again this year, so that's exciting. Many thanks to you, judges. It was wonderful work that you did. And now let's see the results of that hard work. The Immigrant Entrepreneur Awards were named for historic New Jersey immigrant entrepreneurs. The first one that we're going to talk about is the David Sarnoff Award for Advocacy and Community Engagement. David Sarnoff himself immigrated from Minsk, Russia, starting out as an office boy at the groundbreaking Marconi Wireless Telegraph Company. He went on to lead RCA, which produced records and phonographs. He understood and underwrote the new NBC name for radio programming, and finally television. He is one of the fathers of broadcasting. Now, this award is presented to an immigrant-owned and operated successful business that has demonstrated commitment to small business advocacy and to civic engagement and social responsibility. I am just delighted to present the David Sarnoff Award for Advocacy and Community Engagement to Mahesh Yadav, CEO of Optima Global Solutions Incorporated in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Mahesh came here as a young man in 1993 from India. Today, his 19-year-old firm has twice earned honors among the Inc. magazine fastest growing companies in America, as well as a recent ranking by NJBIA as one of the 50 fastest growing in New Jersey. But he's not just focusing on his business success. He annually sponsors the Optima Global Solutions Award for Management of Information Technology at Montclair State University. He awards teams of students for the best project in the college MBA program, where he is also an advisory board member. Additionally, as a member of Jumpstart Angels Network, New Jersey, and NJTC Venture Fund, his multiple investments in early stage technology startups have encouraged entrepreneurs and contributed toward job creation in the state of New Jersey. And he isn't all work. He serves on the board of directors and is personally involved with the first tee of Greater Trenton for area youths. He's also the founder of the South Asian Golf Association, a platform for golfers of all ages, offering training and coaching to juniors. Congratulations, Mahesh. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, Catherine. Thank you so much. It's really a true honor and very, very encouraging. I definitely want to take this opportunity to thank the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, NJBIA, and Einstein's Alley. It's been an incredible journey, and very, very pleased to receive this award. I definitely want to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues, as well as my advisors, my board members who've been mentoring and encouraging me and keeping me on the right track. At the same time, the partners and everyone who has been supporting me in this incredible journey. My family is something that I definitely want to share a couple of things. Coming from India, I'm the first generation immigrant. Growing up in a lower middle class family, I cannot say enough how much my parents and my family had sacrificed for allowing me to get an engineering degree in India, when it was more important for me to not focus on education but to support the family financially. However, they let me do that, and that helped me to come into the United States later on and find a good job and a good career. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, obviously it was not very well timed. It was just before 9/11. And throughout these 19 years, looking at all the ups and downs, a major lion's share of credit goes to my wife, who has been a rock behind me. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me to continue this, and appreciate the award.
Thank you, and congratulations, Mahesh. The next award is the Albert Einstein Award for Innovation. Albert Einstein was born in Germany in 1879. Einstein had his innovative miracle year in 1905, in which he published 4 papers, including a paper which he announced his discovery of the relationship between matter and energy, E equals mc squared. In 1921, Einstein received the Nobel Prize. Luckily, with the Nazis rising to power in Germany in 1932, Einstein was invited to join a newly created Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, and became one of our stars in New Jersey. This award is presented to an immigrant-owned and operated business that exhibits cutting-edge creative thinking in its technology and business plan, in product development, operations, marketing, and other aspects of its business. That describes Sunny Wang and Broad. Sunny Wang is the managing director of Broad Group with 5,200 employees and general manager of its U.S. operation. Broad was incorporated in the U.S. in 1997 and is the market leader in absorption chillers, a non-electric HVAC system for industrial and institutional use, powered by industrial waste heat, renewable energy, or natural gas to achieve an extremely high energy efficiency. They started innovating with the development of B-Core, a hardened stainless steel that is much lighter yet far stronger than carbon steel. But with the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, Broad really got creative. They combined the technologies of B-Core stainless steel structure, air purification, and HVAC to develop a prefabricated negative pressure isolation facility for the safe treatment of COVID-19 patients. It was installed first for the Seoul National University Hospital. Broad has retooled its B-Core production line to focus on high volume production of the NPI rooms. In the United States, in particular, Broad is working with building owners and operators to make businesses and schools safe for reopening. The Albert Einstein Award for Innovation goes to Sunny Wang, Managing Director, Broad USA in Hackensack, New Jersey. Sunny, congratulations.
Thank you, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. And I'd like, first of all, thanks to Ms. In Long, Chairwoman of the New Jersey Chinese American Chamber of Commerce, for kind nomination. Thanks for the award committee for selecting me for this year's Einstein Innovation Award. This is the first time in my career that I have received an award dedicated to the outstanding work and contributions to America by immigrants to this country. I'm humbled by this great honor and fills me with a sense of great pride. I was born in Kaifeng, China, a place that can be called the New York of the 11th century. 3 of Asian China's 4 great inventions that changed the world, namely printing, gunpowder, and compass, were completed and applied at that time. Now we are in New York in the 21st century. I live in New Jersey, the hometown of the great inventor Thomas Edison. Although the times have changed, the development of science and technology will never end, and the role of immigrants in enriching the American scientific community will also continue and deepen. I came to the United States 9 years ago as a first-generation immigrant, and I lead for USA, a company that provides low-carbon and environmental-friendly central air conditioning products and services. After the outbreak of the COVID pandemic this year, we have developed and introduced in the US air purification and filtration products to improve indoor air quality and prevent cross-infection. By the way, Broad USA has more than 20 employees who are also first or second generation immigrants. Just as Einstein, who was also an immigrant, said, "Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile." I will continue to help talented new immigrants to become rooted in the United States and together with them grow stronger and give back to local community. Finally, please allow me to thank my wife, Lily, and my son, Max. They are my driving force to pursue sustainable happiness in my life. I also thank Mr. Charles P. Wong and Mr. John Lam, Mr. Josephine Hall. They are role models for me who have helped lead to my success today. Thank you, everyone. Again.
Congratulations, Sonny. Thank you. That's great. The Rising Star Award is next. This is an award that honors all the young or new entrepreneurs who have the courage to start and grow an enterprise without all the necessary support and capital, but with hope and drive for success. Hussein Boutwalla is such an entrepreneur. His journey to live the American dream started in August 2001, post-completion of a master's degree at the University of Mumbai. He landed in the US to pursue a dual master's degree at the University of Scranton. He moved to New Jersey and joined a small company, Haas International. In 2015, he was offered the opportunity to take over the company, which was a major milestone in his career. Haas had started its operation in a one-room office with 2 employees. As of today, it is the proud occupant of a 12,000 square foot warehouse and distribution center, employing 9 full-time employees. Haas is now considered one of the leading international wholesalers of perfumes and a wide nexus of clientele spread in 5 continents, and they're making millions of dollars. So congratulations to you, Hussein Boutwalla. Would you like to say?
Sure. Catherine, firstly, I would like to begin with thanking New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition, NJBIA, and Einstein for honoring me with this prestigious New Jersey Immigrant Rising Star Award. I sincerely believe this platform is an honest encouragement for immigrants like us who have always wished to live an American dream. I wouldn't have come this far without my entourage. My gratefulness isn't limited or restricted to the names I would be taking. It extends far beyond that. Kavita Bindra at the first hand for finding me worthy enough to nominate me for this award. My wife Mubina and my lovely kids for always being there when I needed them most. Those long, the late nights, the weekends. It goes without saying, my parents and my siblings who have supported me unconditionally for pursuing my dreams. My family and friends who were silently standing behind me and rooting for my success. Last but not the least, my team at Haas, who've always been with me, helping to grow the small business from a one-room office suite to one of the leading companies in the industry. Once again, I cannot be more grateful for receiving this award and hopefully cherish this for the rest of my life. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Congratulations, congratulations. I want to tell you all, I am sorry I cannot reach through the screen to hand you your very handsome crystal awards. They will be coming in the mail, but I'm just so delighted that you are all here today. The last award for this group is the Caspar Wistar Award for Growth. Caspar Wistar came to the United States from Baden, Germany in 1717 at the age of 21. And in 1739, he established the first successful glass factory in the colonies in Salem County. At its height, the factory employed 60 people, made bottles and scientific glass for Benjamin Franklin for his experiments in electricity. This award is presented to an immigrant-owned and operated business that, among other criteria, demonstrate growth in revenue, number of employees, number of branches, and or regional coverage. The Caspar Wistar Award goes to Raj Sahu, CEO of Connections Data Inc. in Paramus, New Jersey. I presume that Raj has not yet arrived. He was traveling internationally and was not able to get in last night. I hope he wasn't held up at the border because of an issue, a visa issue, but he was not able to be here in person to accept the award. He has let me just tell you a little bit about him though. Connections Data started out as a small IT company and has grown exponentially in size. It employs 55 people and is still growing. Raj has a degree in computer engineering. He's an entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in providing ERP services to the Fortune 500 and Global 2000. Over time, he's directed as many as 500 employees and consultants, could be 5,000, with revenues in excess of $40 million. Raj has been instrumental in providing support to the growth of SAP. He's also a founding member and principal of Entor Inc., a leading technology and strategic solutions company working on ERP systems with e-commerce. By any chance, has Raj come in? I guess not. Then, again, congratulations to this group of award winners. You are all just wonderful examples of what an immigrant can do. And now we will move to the Immigrant Entrepreneur Award for 2020. This award is presented to an immigrant entrepreneur that has done it all: growth, innovation, long-term strategic planning, leadership thinking, civic engagement, and social responsibility, and a positive impact on the state. I would like to introduce Dr. Ben Dworkin, founding director of the Institute for Public Policy and Citizenship at Rowan University, who will introduce the Immigrant of the Year 2020, Ali A. Hushmand, president of Rowan University. Ben?
Thank you, Catherine. It is my distinct honor to introduce this year's Immigrant Entrepreneur of the Year, President Ali Hushmand, president of Rowan University. Born into poverty as one of 10 children in Iran, Hushmand left for England to earn his BA in mathematics and an MA in mathematical statistics, all while working his way through school at a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise. From England, he came to the United States in 1983 to pursue his second master's degree and his PhD in engineering at the University of Michigan. He became a US citizen in 1997. And as president of Rowan since 2012, he has led the university through a period of unprecedented growth, nearly doubling enrollment at what is now a top 100 Carnegie classified national research university with 2 medical schools. Under Dr. Hushmand, Rowan has become a leader in public-private partnerships and innovations that lower the cost and accessibility of higher education. Moreover, the launch in 2017 of Hushmand's hazardous hot sauce, made from peppers grown in his garden, has raised more than $3 million for student scholarships. In sum, his story of immigrant success and entrepreneurial leadership should inspire us all. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting the 2020 Immigrant Entrepreneur of the Year, Dr. Ali Hushmand.
Congratulations, Dr. Hushmand.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ben.
Congratulations.
I'm so honored for this nomination. I want to thank the sponsors of this event. I want to thank Michelle, Catherine, Jeremy for an amazing keynote speak. I want to also congratulate the panel. There was a wonderful, wonderful discussion about the issue of immigration. And of course, congratulations to Mahesh and Hussein. Wonderful, as well as, I'm sorry, Sunny. Yes, I came to this country in 1983. I was born in Iran, family of 9 brothers and sisters, with me 10, and my mom and dad could not read or write, so they could not sign their name. They had to basically use their finger and ink to do things. And it was a very, very desperate type of life. Think of, what's that, the scumbag I have kind of experienced a bunch of that stuff myself, the things that young man went through. So came to this country in 1983, and I have been truly, truly honored. And every day that I wake up, I feel the same, that I have tremendous amount of debt of gratitude to this country to give me the opportunity to be here and to grow. Of course, as you said, most people come in here, people like us, for study, and eventually want to stay. And I was one of those lucky ones that when I finished my PhD, my first job was at United Airlines. So all those delays and the lost baggages that you had was all my fault during those days. And then I moved to academia and eventually got to here. And throughout really every morning that I wake up, genuinely say to myself, what should I do in order to say thank you? And the way that I do that is this really. To me, a good citizen is a person who respects the constitution of the country that he lives in, try to acclimate and try to kind of become part of this system rather than trying to change the system, pays taxes, works hard, raise good family, and follow the law. And to me, that is very, very important. And I do all of that. And I have seen in many, many other immigrants who do the same thing. People, we come in here with aspiration, we want to work hard. We love this country. We gave up everything. I mean, think about it. I have never seen my mom and dad be buried. I never seen my brothers and sisters married or having kids. I can't even right now, where they are under the most monumental sanction, where they cannot even get vaccine for anything. I cannot even send them $100. If I do, I'll be arrested. And so we went through that. And unfortunately, these days, what is happening in our country, and the polarization, quite honestly, is scaring me. You know, I feel like as much as I love this country and I love and I give my life for it, I feel right now like a countryless person. I feel that I'm not, especially at the highest level of the government, not valued, and I don't have a home to go to, because over there, if I go there, I will be killed. So that's a tough situation to be in. But having said that, I look at you amazing people, and I look at this organization, and I see that how much you value and immigrants and the contribution of immigrants, and it gives me hope, and it gives me feel very, very good that I have colleagues like you who feel the same way about us. We come in this country, we leave a lot behind. We all have families too, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, and everything else. The way that I see that, quite honestly, my family consists of my wife, my son, my daughter, and all of my friends, you guys. You are the family. You are the cousins and uncles and aunts and everything. And if I don't have that, it would be very, very difficult right now to live in this country. You know, for me, for a person who is a free person, who goes out gardening, who goes and run, I was a big marathoner. I'm terrified to go outside right now. In fact, wherever I go, an armed guard follows me. And I don't like that life. I want to be free. I want to be in America that I believe in, that is free, that is open, that let everybody to think, to create, and to do amazing things. And I know we will get to back, because that's what is amazing about this country. It goes through its challenges, but it's so resilient and so powerful and so strong that comes back. But this is a difficult period, and for that reason, I'm truly grateful to all of you for giving us this energy, for Ben, for others to give us this sense of that, yes, you are one of us. Yes, you belong. Because when I look at my titles and everything, yes, I have accomplished the highest level of higher education. But I want to be free and ordinary person. I just want to feel safe. That's really the situation. So I really think it's important people like Jeremy Robbins to really speak to other people and to highlight how difficult the situation has become. I have a daughter who has a PhD in biomedical engineering, worked for McKinsey. She calls me and said, Dad, where can we find to go? And she was born in here. She's a Michigan born. So it's a mixed kind of a feeling. As I said, the love is amazing. I will continue working hard in here. We will accomplish amazing stuff in here. I'm proud of our university. We started with 1,600 employees. Now we have 4,200 employees. We started with almost 10,000 students. Now we have 20,000 students. We started with $180 million operating budget. Now it's $600 million operating budget. We turned the town, Glassboro, which was really dead, into the most magnificent city that people can come and visit and enjoy. We created thousands of jobs, and we built $1.2 billion of building around this area. All of these gives me wonderful feeling. So this mixed feeling, as I said, overall, I feel proud. I'm amazing and proud American citizen. I hope that all of my fellow American citizens think the same way about me. I don't want any extra preferential treatment. I just want to be considered as an ordinary person. Again, thank you so much for this honor, for this pride. I cherish it for the rest of my life. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hushman. Thank you. What a moving statement. Well, we have reached the end. This is an occasion to bring people together who've come from all over the world in celebration of success. But this morning, we also celebrate both the values we share as well as our exciting diversity. We cannot admire the talent and spirit of these immigrant entrepreneurs without citing the American values that we strive for: opportunity, equality, freedom, that allowed all of you people, all of the immigrants who've come in, to build these wonderful businesses right here in New Jersey. We hope that these awards serve to call attention to the role that immigrants play in creating jobs and revitalizing the American economy. When Congress finally gets around to enacting comprehensive immigration reform, let's hope that the connection between immigration and American prosperity will not be forgotten. Finally, a thank you to our growing list of sponsoring organizations. Without their financial and in-kind support, these awards would not be possible. If there are any new organizations that would like to join us in the work of the New Jersey Business Immigration Coalition and the awards program, we would be delighted to have you. Just email us at info@njbusinessimmigration.org. Again, congratulations to the award winners. What a wonderful group of people you are. Thank you to our keynote speaker, our panelists, and NJBIA for its support for this program. And to all of you for joining us in this celebration of extraordinary talent. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations again.